So this is episode 3 of the Create Podcast. So every week we have a different guest, someone from the Southern California area. We're here in the Inland Empire. Today we sat down, great podcast with Courtney. She owns Not Another Mod Snob in Riverside. Used to be over in the Brockton Arcade. This last year she moved over on Magnolia, kind of past the Riverside Plaza. Really cool store. She specializes in mid-century modern furniture, everything related to that. We've gone in there. We're customers. We love everything that she does. So it was really cool to sit down and hear how she got into it, selling stuff out of her house, online, to opening a small store in the Brockton Arcade, to where she is now. So if you're interested in anything related to that, design, furniture, mid-century, or just hearing a cool story about someone that had an idea and created it and started a really successful business, it's a good podcast to watch. Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was good. So check it out. Episode 3.
This is the Create Podcast.
But it is such a great spot because you have, like you said, it's really a destination. Like
it's a destination.
When you shortly after you moved there, one of our high school kids loves thrifting and all that, and finding vintage clothes, and so we went over there and we spent like almost the whole afternoon just going from store to store. It's such a great space. How big is your spot there now?
So total, I want to say it's like 4,000 square feet, and coming from this tiny shop of 760 square feet, it was a massive upgrade.
Yeah,
it was massive.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, it was huge. It was more than I set out to get, but the deal was too good, and the location was just prime. And so then it also afforded me the ability to take on vendors, and which was always kind of a long-term goal.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, to offer people more than just my shop.
Yeah,
you know?
I love coming to being able to like look at the plants.
Yeah, plants.
See the antiques.
Yeah, it's just, you get a taste of it, a little bit of more than just what I offer.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to give people and show people. So.
Yeah, it's such a unique place. So we grew up in Riverside, and we've been in North Carolina for a handful of years. And I came back before her and the kids did to get our business going off the ground. And I think a Saturday or something, I was driving by the plaza, and I left here like almost 18 years ago. So it was, going by and seeing all these things. I went into the Brockton Arcade. And so my first experience with your store, it was closed, and you had a sign on the door. It said something like, gone to sister's wedding shower, blame baby shower. It's like blame her. I like took a picture and sent it to Marissa. I'm like, whoever owns this store is really cool.
Yeah.
And then I think you had one that was like gone to Vegas, like
F
it or something.
Yeah, it was really easy to like, if it was just me there, I could put on these. Be honest, it's just me running this.
So much
I'm
better.
in Vegas. I apologize.
Wouldn't you?
So that was kind of it. People resonated with those notes so much that it became a thing, and then it's just real life. I mean, a lot of my notes, if you scroll back on my windows, were like kids graduating or having like some sort of ceremony or an award ceremony. Bye, I'll be there, but we're getting ice cream, so it's just real life, and I think that really connected with a lot of buyers and customers because they're moms and they
and you're not pretending to be something that you're not. I think that's the disconnect a lot of times with businesses, where businesses are trying to be so professional that they kind of lose that
personal aspect.
Yeah, that touch point with people.
If you see my page, and it's not for everybody because I am real almost to a fault on there. I talk how I talk. I make no apologies for that.
I loved when your daughter was setting up a TikTok.
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
Oh God, that was gold. I'm like, this is gonna be amazing.
So great.
Yeah, she wants a TikTok so bad, and as a mom, I'm like, I don't know, there's some weird stuff on there.
There's some weird stuff on there.
And so I'm like, I'll do this with you, and we'll blow it up, and she's like, oh my God.
She's like, what have I done?
Please stop, Mom. But that's it is just very real. And my page, I sell goods and vintage, but there's like a real family behind this. There's real life challenges behind this, and I don't want to ever give people this idea that things are perfect or super easy. Right. I give stories of my failures. I mean, I made a story the other day, and this really happened, where I was sawing and I ripped through my fingernail just because I was too proud to ask for help,
Oh, yes,
and
I saw that at Home Depot.
It's just a lot of funny. And I want to show people, people are so kind to me, and I'm so appreciative of that. I mean, I can't believe how people have connected with the business, and it's really interesting. But people are so kind and say, you're amazing at refinishing. I love to show them, like, hey, y'all, I wasn't. Okay, let me show you some stuff. Like, I really thought I would get a belt sander and rip through furniture with 40 grit. Like, I really thought that, you know, but that's not, that it was a learning curve, a painful learning curve.
And I think with anything creative, that's, you know, like I think to be a successful creative, you have to be willing to be a total disaster.
Absolutely.
At the beginning. If I look back at the first picture, like I started photography back when we were like selectively coloring, which I think is maybe the worst era of photography ever. So like my beginning pictures have like, you know, just the rose is red. Like you have to be willing to be a total disaster to be a successful creative. And yeah, I love that you're just so open.
Yeah. I mean, I want to show people like, there's so many people that are really, they have great ideas. They're really scared to implement, and the rejection, and all I've heard is, you know, small business fails and things like that. Oh, 90% of them fail in the first 2 years or something.
But sometimes in that statistics, you've got people who have like run the course of that business and they're starting a new business. You know, you know, it was like the birth of something else.
Exactly. It was a catalyst for something even bigger.
The next thing.
Stepping stone. Yeah.
So what was the spark that got it all started?
So it's funny you mentioned you lived in North Carolina. My husband's military. We lived in North Carolina, Fayetteville.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, my husband was stationed there at Fort, not Bragg. Is it Fort Bragg?
I think it is.
It
Bragg.
is Fort Bragg, huh?
Yeah.
We've been a couple places.
I'm sure
they all start with a B.
Yeah, I think it's
Bragg,
there.
Benning, and Bliss. And so we lived there, and you know, being military, we were broke. I mean, we were negative paycheck to paycheck. You know, like we were already spending our next. You know, so anyways, we had no money, and you know, newlyweds, and the military pay is rough when you're just
starting it.
And so I would just kind of decorate the house with like thrift finds and such like that, and it was creative, and this was always something that was in my blood. I always loved the hunt because my grandma, she would take me, and this was our favorite pastime in the summer. This is what we would do. And so I always had this like sense of wonder and nostalgia about an era I've not existed in. It always felt cooler and mysterious to me. Interesting. And so anyways, in North Carolina, that's how I would decorate the house, and you know, friends and such would love it because it was always different. And then that was 2005, when everybody was all about excess and lavish and the Benz, and you know, and here I am with like you know, thrift, like you know, like awesome vintage pieces. So it was different. So I always wanted to open up my own shop. But I always had self-doubt. I always struggled with self-doubt. And, you know, we're military, so it didn't feel like the right time because we could be shipped off somewhere, you know? So we're at the mercy of where our next base is.
Right.
So,
and probably not able to take much with you.
No, not when you're moving, you know, state to state. It's miserable moving. And so you offload and then you rebuy, you know?
Yeah.
So, anyways, the catalyst that really made me do this was always a plan. I was always waiting for my mom to retire or something, to like a safety net. But what really made me say I'm not waiting to live my dream is my father-in-law was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and within 10 months we lost him.
Wow.
And he was 1 year away from retirement, and he talked about his retirement for years. Everything he was going to buy. He was finally going to get that bitchin' camper. He was finally going to get that off-road vehicle he wanted. He was finally going to do these trips. And it really shook me. I've never had death happen to me that close and that sudden. And my takeaway from it, other than devastation for my family, because my husband's sister is my best friend. And so besides the heartbreak of going through that with them, it was devastating for everybody. But it just really like shook me. And I oh my God, what am I waiting for? Like, tomorrow is not promised. He waited his whole freaking life to do these plans that he was forced into early retirement, and days never got better for him, and he passed away. And it rattled me. And I said to my husband, like, if I fail, I fail, but I've done it and I've tried it. And so I I was like, that's it. And I started out and I just made a decision that this is what I'm doing. I didn't think it would fail. I wouldn't let it. I was too passionate about it. I cared too much about it. And so I made a leap of faith. Because I had, been selling and buying vintage from my house. I had this cute Shasta trailer, and my husband said, all right, you know what? Sell that trailer, and that'll be your little nest egg for starting the business. And it was painful, because I loved my little trailer. It was one of those cute vintage trailers with the wings on it. Oh, I loved it. But, it was like an investment in myself. And so I sold it, and I went for this tiny shop, and I needed like a handshake deal. I needed somebody to have faith in me, because commercial property, renting it into a brand new business, they're like, what's your business plan, and what the hell are you going to sell? Right. They want to see prior rental history. They don't give a crap. And I'm like, check my credit scores, everything's good, but they want to see something that you've rented before, and I didn't have it. So I really needed a break. And I got a break at the Brockton Arcade, which felt so natural. I feel like I grew up there. Yeah. And the Riverside Stamp and Coin is owned by a gentleman named Craig. I've known Craig nearly my whole life. I would go in that store with my dad. He never knew me by name or anything, but I said, "Look, I want that location next to you." It was just this empty kind of storage building, and I could see in the window it was not being used, and it hadn't been used for decades, it looked like. And I said, I have $10,000. $10,000 is all I had. Give me 1 year and let me have that space. And he's a crotchety old guy, and I really love him. I really love him, because $10,000 over a year is only $833 a month or something. Like, it breaks down to 800 something. Yeah. That's not very high rent, and it's very below market value. Right. But that place was to the he's a collector, we'll call him kindly.
Every time I go over there, I am astonished by the quantity of stuff.
The volume, and trust me when I say that's not even the tip of the iceberg.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. Wow. Does he own that whole building?
He does. So from the Riverside Stamp and Coin over is what he owns, and it's the coolest freaking building. It has so much potential. But I just said, I'll clean it out for you. I'll clean it out for you. That's a huge... Knowing now what I knew, like what I know, I can't believe I did it. Because we're talking, I killed myself. There was a pool table in there.
Oh my gosh.
In 45 different pieces.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I had to empty it, and it took a long time, and there was safes that you couldn't move. There were just safes, these massive safes, and it was wild. I had to clean it out, and so it was just a huge undertaking. I had my little 2-year-old with me at the time, and I would sit her on the stairs, 'cause believe it or not, that was like the safest place, because everything else was just about to topple over, and I cleaned it out. I cleaned it out for him, and I got my space, and I had my first year.
Wow.
And it was a wild success.
And so what year was that?
That was 3 years ago now.
That's awesome.
Because I was at that location for 2 years. I knew when I got it was too small, but I just needed a break. I just needed to try. Let me just start. See. Yeah. Let me just see. And the way I set it up is like I paid rent once, and it was never an issue month to month, because I'd already been paid up. And so then I could just focus on building the brand and building the business. And like I said, it just took off, and the support was incredible.
That's so great. And so did you have somewhat of an existing client base from selling out of your house?
A little. I mean, super little, yes. But I did, because I had started selling, and I had quit my job, started selling from my house full time, and then the next progression was the shop. But so I did have this tiny, tiny little customer base, and word of mouth is everything in this business. And so it did progress and grew, and the storefront really solidified or validated like the business, It wasn't just for fun, and it wasn't like I'm paying sales tax, people, like, it's legit now, I'm reporting this,
Did you already have the name before you moved into the...
Well, yeah, the business name kind of was an interesting story because when I started, I had this really cringy name. I had this name called Wannabe Vintagey. It's so embarrassing. I can't even believe. I hate even hearing. I hate hearing it. I'm like, oh, So it was just.
It's cute and fun, like
it was something.
We all got to start somewhere.
It was like your photographs of the singular red
rose, yes, and the blue overall, like
yes, I know exactly.
We all got to start somewhere.
So funny. So yeah, I had that name. I ordered a rubber stamp so I could stamp my tags. Like
I love it.
It was so funny, and the business is very stiff and serious. Mid-century is like an odd business. It's very male dominated, which is surprising to me. It's very serious. Everybody's all about the labels and the brands and the, to me, cool is cool. Is it vintage? Is it cool? It's awesome. It looks sitting
right.
Why do we have to bouge it up?
It is an interesting little snippet of time that is just so brand.
So
from
brand
the
driven.
Architect brand driven with the homes to the furniture. It's crazy.
I understand because it was the golden age of design, and so I don't want to downplay that. Right. There are iconic designs that are still very much alive in our world today. They set the tone for a lot, so I don't want to downplay that. But I do want to just say that, at the end of the day, we're just used furniture dealers. Why does it have to be so serious?
Right.
It's grandpa's furniture. You know what I mean? Can we just chill?
Let's just bring it down.
Yeah, the business is so stiff that way that when I reached out and was looking for somebody to kind of, I guess, take me under their wing or be friendly, can I use you as a sounding board? Can I, ask questions? It was not a lot of help.
Photography was that way when I started 20 years ago. That it was
himself, right?
And it was literally every man.
Yeah,
it was. Photography is fascinating because it's completely metamorphosized over the last 20 years. Where when I started,
male driven,
it was completely all guys and kind of the same. Same philosophy where they were not going to share anything that they knew.
No.
And
no tips, no tricks.
Kind of snobby.
Yes.
So it's interesting.
It's cutthroat, isn't it? It's
cutthroat.
Really, really interesting. Now, being on the other end of it, there are things that I understand now.
Right.
But life takes years of
life has taught you the lesson.
Yes.
But I think that there's a way to be generous and smart at the same time.
The balance wasn't there before. So when I set out to make this, I was just whining to a friend, they're just so mean, and I was like, they're just a bunch of mod snobs. And that coined my name.
That's amazing.
It was just I'm not another mod snob. And then, of course, that's a very easy, point of, people make fun of that a lot. They're like, you turned into a mod snob. And I'm like, well, it's happened. It's not, I'm not trying. But yeah, I see I see it.
Right.
I'm design driven. I love vintage. I care about the design and beautiful spaces more.
Right.
Vintage is just this, my passion, but I love the design aspect. So if it's not high end or label, I don't care, And I think that's what's connected with people. And so I also try to be approachable. I don't ever claim to know designers. I'm worse at identifying, and people always ask me, on messages, do you happen to know who designed this desk? And I'm like, what makes you think I would know? I am so terrible at designing. I said, but that's a beautiful desk. It has value.
Someone who built a really good desk that's still around and kicking.
It's the lines, it's beautiful. That's what matters to me. Not that it was I don't know.
Right.
It just, all of that is just, we get really wrapped up, and it just feels
and it's an interesting era where I don't think, I don't get the sense that people are doing that with furniture from the 80s.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Do we know or care?
Right. Yeah. And you'd be surprised in LA, there is a major movement happening with that 80s.
Is there really?
It really is coming in a big way. And
what I'm trying to think, what even floral type?
So do you remember, modernism transcended started in about the 40s and this modern trend and the clean lines, but it transcends through the years. You can see the influence every decade.
Yeah.
And so then when you get in the 80s, there's still modern influence. It's a little more bulky, not so lightweight. And then in the 80s, you also saw like a really big Art Deco revival.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like, you know,
it was a rough time. Those were dark days.
Dark design days.
For design.
Kind of like
in
the Neighbors in Christmas Vacation. Like, kind of like that. Remember that?
Just, you know, a lot of white.
A lot of white.
Of, like,
yeah.
Leathers and, you know, puffy furniture.
I was going to say puffy was the first thing that
Puffy
came
furniture,
to mind.
I remember going to Levitt's in San Bernardino with my mom and dad, and they got a white leather sofa, and it was puffy, and it was the shit. It was so bomb. I thought we were the hottest. You know, I was like, it's over. We won. We got the hottest shit.
Y'all can go home.
Yeah, game over. Well, and then it didn't get much better in the 90s, because I think about like 90s furniture, and my parents had this like gigantic in every way sectional with like the 2 recliners and the puffy velour and
puffiness.
My parents' house looked like it got attacked by an oak monster. Just
yes.
So everything was oak.
Everything.
Yes. The floor, all the furniture. Cabinets,
yes.
Like the house was just like one color with some accents, basically.
Yeah, I can't
Pink,
with oak to this day. It was too much in the 90s.
And then after the oak movement, there was the Tuscan Italian.
Oh,
my mom did these drapes, you know, and then there was
everybody
ivy.
doing.
Do you remember the ivy?
Yeah,
trend?
or like the faux
plaster.
Yeah, plaster.
So cringy.
Yeah.
What are we doing now?
I know, right?
What are we doing now that
shiplap?
we're like,
we're gonna look back.
Shiplap
Shiplap is gonna be the avocado fridge of 20.
Chevron stripe. Or,
yes,
you know, that's like every time I see that, I'm like, get it on out of here. It's already had its moment.
So dated. Yeah.
I remember my parents, in my 20s, they had this giant oak desk that my dad paid a ton of money for.
Yeah.
And I painted it black.
How dare you?
I was so nervous to tell them.
Yeah.
And they came over, and my mom's like, "That's interesting."
I just covered up one.
They were so
interesting.
Looked cool, but
yeah.
I love that because we're that way too. Like I just like stuff that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So I like seeing other people that don't get caught up into kind of creating their own identity because I like this thing. Just like what you like.
Like what you like.
Yeah, and that's so obvious with what you're doing. And I've read so mid-century, like late 30s, and then went kind of into the mid-60s. Yeah. When was kind of like the height of it?
The height of mid-century is like late 40s to like the late 60s. That's like the golden age, you know, and then you see the influence through the 70s and you're getting into different vibes, and then even in the 80s you still see the influence. 90s even, there's something that I just kind of in the last couple of years discovered, like this Memphis style of furniture. But it's all, to me, at first it felt like kid furniture, like IKEA furniture from the 90s. It's very Memphis design, but it actually is like I believe it's Italian, and it's very, very high end mid-century Italian.
Isn't that so funny when you see something and you're like, this is probably so cheap, and then you're like, whoa,
right, laminate could be this much, you know. So it's amazing. There's so much to learn in this business. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't learn every single day. I mean, new things to appreciate, and new designers that I didn't know about, that you see their influence, like Memphis Milano. I didn't know, you know, because to me it looked like cheap IKEA furniture. It looked like my bedroom when I was little.
Yeah.
And it's a $5,000 shelving unit. You know, I didn't know. I would have overlooked it. But now I appreciate and understand it. And it's really cool. It's a really cool business.
It's cool.
I love your branding too. Did you do that? Did you find someone locally, hire that out, or?
The Mod Snob design logo. I had some guy on Etsy create it. I gave him like kind of a general, here's what I want it to say, and here I want a little starburst up there, and I want this to have kind of a different vibe, and he totally nailed it. And I've really considered throughout the last couple of years like rebranding, because Not Another Mod Snob is such a mouthful. but it also is such a name that people resonate with. People that feel rejected by the high-end mid-century community,
Right.
that's a safe place. And so I really struggle because it's such when I tell it to people over the phone or my insurance company or anything like that, I'm like, mod snob, and and they're like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, I know, it's weird, but just go with it,
go with it. Yeah.
So my branding is really unique in the business. It's also like a poke at the business. Like, can we just chill, you know? And so it's funny because I've always said in the last couple of years, like, how much can I poke at the business and kind of be in spite of the business, and then I am the business
Right,
now.
still being in it.
And so it's like, I hope that that's still working. I do see like things, how they transpire and turn your business evolves. And so I've tried to, in recent months, I do see how I'm kind of over what I was doing.
Yeah.
Now this is how people become mod snobs. I'm doing it. And I'm like, crap. It happens, it's like, that doesn't impress me anymore. Let's go for something. And oh crap, here I am being a mod snob, And so it's funny. It's really
You're like, here we are.
I don't know the name. I love it because it was where I began, and it really got me a notice in the business. But also now here I am, and how long can I call myself that when I'm kind of doing higher end pieces? But I also dabble,
I love coming into your store because no matter what it is that we need that day, you have such a wide variety of different things, eclectic things.
I love that.
Lamps to cups and different,
so much.
Yeah, it's great. And I think that's what kind of, I think, is going to carry you through whatever growth and transition you experience, is that, because we've all been in those furniture stores where you walk in and it's like so stark. And I love that you walk in to your place and you just feel like you're at home.
That's one of the things I really want to. I always set out to cater to buyers like myself. I can't even afford some of my prices. And so I wanted to make it a safe place where somebody can walk in and spend $5 or $5,000. It's all welcome here. My bread and butter is just like selling on my stories $20 items, and it's just, they go fast,
which I love seeing them. I love watching your stories because I'm like, oh my gosh,
that style,
that quirky lamp I would never buy, but I love that somebody bought it in 2 seconds out of her story.
And there's no rhyme or reason with what sells. I'll have something for 2 years sitting there. I throw it on a story. It just takes one eye to see it at the right time, and it happens to be the exact thing they need.
They've been looking for.
So interesting. I could never predict what will sell. Never. Because the things I absolutely love and go crazy over, they hang out. And then the things that, I'm like, somebody might like that. And people are fighting over it.
Well, and Instagram stories has probably revolutionized the smaller items that you're selling for sure, because people cannot be coming into the store with the same frequency that you are getting product in.
Exactly right. Well, and I found this way of selling on my stories. It's like an expiring thing. You have 24 hours.
Right.
And you're also up against 13,000 other followers that might jump, and it really creates a sense of urgency. It really gets people going on those impulse buys. I got to get it before so-and-so sees it, or who knows,
Yeah.
And so it happens quick sometimes. And it's if I want to drum up some excitement, that's what I do. I just flood my stories with, items that and they sell. It's amazing.
That's so cool.
I can see that. It's almost like an additional revenue stream,
It is.
Like, it's like kind of a different, like if it were
It's
me,
a
I
different
would be
feed.
like tracking that, 'cause
Yeah.
I think at the end of the year because is this like the first year that you've
The stories have
the stories
I've done
you've
it
always
for a
done
while.
that, yeah.
But it's I think a missed opportunity in the market of my competition, because people don't like to do that. I almost think that some dealers think it's not so professional, maybe, or it has.
It's just so short-sighted, because I can see, like you said, like if I went into your store or a similar store and there was something I really liked. If I wasn't ready to buy it, I'm like, maybe should I not spend that much money or whatever the reason is.
Like the $200 birdcage that you really want at
Yeah.
the Redlands antique place.
So like that, for example,
Yeah.
there's this old vintage cool bird cage on a stand. Like, I don't know why, I just think it's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't buy it because it's like $200. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's going to be there.
Should've bought it.
It's going to be there, right? That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. But if I see something like that on your stories, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Everybody sees it now.
Not only do I need to do it today, I need to do it right now.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. It does create, it taps into impulse.
Mhm.
It sounds very manipulative, but it's a
I just
tactic
think
for
it's
selling.
Yeah, it's a
And-
smart business move.
Yeah.
I mean, you are doing an amazing job
Thanks.
harnessing a business opportunity that I think very few people are tapping into, and you're killing it.
I've seen some dealers take it on as well, like adopt that trend, and I think it works for them.
Yeah.
I think it was just a way I could show people small inventory that wasn't a whole post worthy.
Right.
But and here it is, $20, and here's a really amazing ashtray or something, small that isn't really worthy of a huge post and dimensions, and it is
Right.
what it is.
Right.
And so it works.
But I love that you have that, and then you also have these like exquisite,
Thanks.
big, expensive
Pieces, yeah.
as well. Like you do a great job of just like you said, someone can come in and spend like that day that we were there, and that woman walked in and bought
The
like
cushion.
seat cushion
Yeah,
and
that
walked
was-
out with her one seat cushion. I'm like, well, the
Wild.
person coming that's going to buy the other 3 of those is going to be really sad.
Well,
that
and
you're
the
leaving
other
with that.
the other customers
So odd.
in that day bought a bunch of furniture.
Yeah.
You guys.
So that's such a perfect example.
Yeah.
You had
And wasn't it like a random day? It was like a Tuesday
Yeah.
or something.
It was like a Tuesday at
It was-
4:45.
and they spent $3,000.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, geez, guys, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come again.
Come again. It was incredible. That's the thing is, I've had people furnish their whole house with me. It's such an honor.
Yeah.
Still kind of blows my mind that people will spend that kind of money with me. It's an honor.
You do a great job.
Thank you.
You just have a good eye, and you're really talented with getting each
Thanks.
piece to look its best. And
I try.
you do
Yeah.
a great job.
I think that's such a key part of it because, like, similar stores, like if I go into, usually I'll find a piece every once in a while that I like.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I like that. But when we go into your store, it's like, oh my gosh, that's cool. That's cool. It's like you just
Yeah.
have a really good eye of, and I think possibly why you're able to do that so well is you're not getting caught up in the name or the brand.
Yeah.
Or, I can see some people could probably, limit what they're able to do because they get caught up in the wrong thing.
Right.
Where you're just trying to find stuff that people will like or fit.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you say that because even when I was selling at home 4 years ago, and I was selling at home and I was just literally throwing things in front of my garage door, I couldn't just throw the item in front of the garage door. I had to stage it. I had to put a plant there or a rug or something, and that seemed to work. People liked to see that vision of what it
'cause
might look like in their
even
house.
like you and I, all of us here are very creative people. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still like, just tell me what to do with
Yeah.
that. Like show me how to make that work.
Right, yeah.
But-
Some people, and when you walk into the shop, there are rooms set up, and I wanted to create little rooms, and you can see what this might look like in your home. Give people the idea, and here's how you could stage that, and it seems to help people get the vision.
Well, it's like walking. That's why we all love walking through IKEA,
right?
Like
their rooms.
If you were to IKEA would sell 0 things if they
all just
only
set
had
out.
their warehouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IKEA is so successful because they're like, let us show you how to use all this stuff.
Exactly right. They have a masculine version, a boho kind of vibe, a clean line vibe. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And yeah, you do a great job with that too. And from start to finish, like I love that you have lights, lamps, and
trying,
different lighting and
I'm
pillows.
trying,
And
yeah.
you do a great job.
Thank you.
Have you run into any items that people collect? Like you mentioned ashtrays. Like, just curious if there's any, whether it's lamps or ashtrays that like if you get, like there's a collector's market out there for it.
Well, ashtrays are something I constantly sell. They're a novelty item, and not so many people smoke like they used to anymore. So it's not so much that people use them as, ashtrays. They're so beautiful still.
They're cool.
And people
Yeah.
use them for keys, for trinkets, for jewelry, for nearly anything. So there are things that people collect, like ashtrays is just kind of a constant thing I can sell
Yeah.
easy because they're so beautiful. you know, and they can go on the coffee table, hold all your remotes. They were massive. Some ashtrays, you know.
I know. Every time I see one in your store, I like walk up. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this
It's a
thing?
freaking bowl you can put chip and dip
Yeah.
in it. You know.
Yeah,
It's
like
amazing.
for real.
It's amazing. Barware is another thing that people love. We don't entertain how we used to, and I'm not sitting here saying I do. You know, when I have a barbecue, it's red Solo cups, disposable, and cleanup is
You know
easy.
who's probably buying all your bar stuff is the millennials with their bar carts.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to
Yeah.
get at. There is a nostalgia factor to having this gorgeous gold gilt barware and then creating some sort of craft cocktail. And there's more value
Yeah.
and more experience in that, in that barware. And knowing that it's 60 years old and it could have been in an office of, you know, somebody like Donald Draper or,
Right.
you know, it's something like that it could have been present at some really incredible deals made in some office. It's just fun to think about, you know. My husband, in our old house, I forced my husband to put a pink stove in this in our new kitchen, right? It was an old 60-year-old stove, and it was pink, and I literally loved this stove. Like, I wanted to cry. I loved it so much, okay? And I told my husband, he's like, why are we even doing this? Because we had to convert from electric to gas, and it was a big pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's an ordeal.
It was an ordeal. And he's like, why are we doing this? And I'm like, dude, this thing has cooked probably like 60 Thanksgiving dinners. And he's like, and why does that matter? And I'm like, what do you mean? What are you saying? What do you mean? I don't know why that matters to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I love that.
It does.
Well, and to be honest, it probably works better than
Right.
the freaking brand new, like,
Exactly.
it's crazy
I
how
love that stove.
crappily things are made.
It's all made
today.
to die within a couple of years
Yeah, it's
and be
nuts.
replaced and keep the machine going. And that's another that's not my motivation, but it's a really cool byproduct of that. By being in the vintage world, it's sustainable.
Yeah.
You're saving things from, and like I said, that's not
well,
my
coming
motivation.
and going. You're
Yeah.
saving things from ending up in a landfill,
And then
and you're
reusing.
saving people from having to buy a new fridge in 3 years.
Exactly. It's such a cool detail of the business that I don't focus on too much, but I should. There's more opportunity there to tell people how sustainable it is. That couch is 60 years old. If you recover it, it looks brand new, and it's
Right.
built. I had a couch in the back of my truck one time, okay, and it was my Toyota Tacoma, so it's not the longest truck bed, but I had a 10-foot sofa.
Oh my
in it.
gosh.
So the damn thing was sticking out like 3 feet. Okay, so I go to the plaza and I park in the back because, you know, I'm sticking out really far. I park in the back. I go grab lunch and I come out, and this lady, she's on the phone. She's standing right by my truck. I wasn't even in the truck, okay? She's standing right by my truck. I have my lunch in my hands, and I'm walking up, and she's on the phone. She's pissed. I can tell she's so mad.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, what's up? And this guy comes up, and he's like, that lady just hit your car. And I'm all, what? Wait, what? And he goes, here's my number. I'm a witness. And I'm like, okay, what the hell happened? So I go up, and I'm like, what's up? And she goes, well, I hit your car. And she was mad. And I look at my car, and he goes, well, she hit your sofa. And I'm like, oh. So I go to the sofa, and I'm naive. I'm like, it's fine. There's not a dang scratch on it. But her car it's fucking dented. Like, there's a caved in.
People are like, did you hit a deer? And she's like, I hit a sofa from the 60s.
Thing was built like a brick house. It was built like a brick house. So naively, I go up to her and I was like, the sofa is fine. The sofa is fine. It's okay. It's okay. And her car the back fender is just, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Freaking huge, I don't know, cannonball hit it. And she's like, yeah, but my car isn't. And I'm like, but you hit me.
You're like, but it's not the sofa's fault.
So
The sofa wasn't
Like,
chasing
we're
you.
good.
I
We're
thought
good.
so. That's exactly my perspective. I went to her like, it's all good. It's fine.
carry
Don't
on.
worry about it. And she was so mad. So she was on the phone with her insurance company. And I'm like, wait, do we have a claim? I wasn't even in the car. I wasn't even driving. That's why I parked in the back
Right.
all by myself. How did you manage to hit me? You know? So I'm like really confused. Like, what claim does she have? She hit me. I wasn't in the car. It wasn't moving. And I called my insurance company and I just said, hey, there might be something coming in, and let me explain the situation. And the guy on the phone, he laughed. He goes, she has no claim. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. But one of the selling features of that sofa is, I told people, it got hit by a car, and it's great. So, yeah, it's built to a better standard, like real wood.
There's like no comparison.
I couldn't tell you where that sofa got hit. It was fine.
The sofa has a Carfax report.
Yeah. It's been in a collision. I couldn't believe it, but it was such a great testament to how well it was built.
Yeah.
And I mean, her car was dented in like the size of that computer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was wild.
And that's one of the reasons I love vintage stuff from different eras is like you were talking about the possibility of stories. Like all those cassettes on my wall are all from thrift stores and different places. And sometimes I'll buy them in bulk, because it took me a while to find that many cassettes and the ones I wanted. Yeah. And sometimes I'll go in and they'll have a big box. And I'm like, how much for the whole box? And they're usually like, why? But,
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
They're like,
but
$1?
Like so many times I'm going through a box of cassettes and I'll find like someone's mixtape from the 70s or 80s and all the stuff they wrote inside of it, and like love. There were like love mixtapes they were giving to people.
Gold.
I love that.
There's a bunch of
stuff,
mixtapes on the wall
Yeah,
too.
because they popped that in. It was 1992, and they were hot shit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They were rolling, and they were just there's something to that.
The
to
original
me.
playlist.
Oh man, yeah. That's such a cool thing. I don't know why I care about things like that, but I love that means something to you.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But not everybody's like that. I'm like my dad. I'm super nostalgic. Like I have cool cigarettes up there that my grandfather smoked. Cool, and he drank Coors. Like it's.
I love
like
that.
it's worthless, like that pack of cigarettes, but it's something. The nostalgia, and, yeah. Where my dad just throw everything away, we'll buy something new. So it's funny how everyone's different.
Totally.
I'd rather have something that
little history.
Yeah, and the meaning and the nostalgia behind it.
Yeah, in my life, I am the only one who cares about anything vintage other than my grandma, and my grandma is just she's just kind of struggling recently, and so we don't really have that connection. But my dad's the same way. Anything old reminds him of his childhood, and it makes him intrinsically angry, and he doesn't like it.
It's an interesting generational thing.
Yeah, even my husband, he's understood now because I've made a business and the business has worked, and now he understands the community that I've built around this whole vibe, and that I'm not alone. There's people out there like
You're
me.
not the only one.
Yeah, I'm not the only one, and so, but he's not. He'd rather have a lazy boy with the cup holders, and I could die, thinking about that, But yeah, my mom has gotten a new appreciation for it because of me, and because she's so design driven and creative. She likes some pieces, but we'll still kind of change them from the original, and it kind of kills me inside. Yeah, but I understand why she's doing it.
Move away with the paint.
Yeah, I'm like,
step away.
Please don't reupholster that, or please leave it original, or but it's everybody has their spin.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I'm the only one in the family that loves vintage, and it's a challenge every day.
Where do you get most of your stuff?
That's a question I get every day, and I wish there was one solid, easy answer. If I could say it was always from this one location,
well, then everybody would go and do it too. Like it,
but it would also make my job so much easier, because I kind of wish it was just one source. I wish it was. Right. It's not. It's so many moving parts. So this business is extremely competitive, as with a lot of niche markets, but this one in particular, it's who can find it the fastest and buy it. And I have kids, so I'm not able to. I have kids, I'm running the business, I'm still refinishing furniture. I'm not able to sit there on my phone and wait for something to pop up and immediately message. I suck at that because, yes, you get it cheaper, but I have life going on. I can't,
Right.
And so a lot of my larger pieces, I do ship them in from out of state because it's just too competitive here. And I do have some pickers that are constantly sending me photos of things they found, they've come across, and yes, no, I'll tell them that, and I pay their price, and it's been a tough transition. Well, not so much anymore, but at first it was from being the first buyer, being able to hit all the thrift stores and finding it, and then I'm not able to do that anymore because I have to be at the shop, to being the second buyer. So I'm paying that picker for their time. And that was a really tough transition. But I also get the highest price because I have the shop. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I have the customer base. So it evens out to everybody makes about the same amount of money, the picker and then the dealer. You know what I mean? So there's no one source, but it's a lot of moving parts. It's thrift stores, it's estate sales, it's out of state. I have shippers that go all over the country. So I will search along their routes. If I know they're going to Minnesota, if I know they're going to Minnesota, then I'll search in Minnesota. Once you get out of California, the picking is so much easier.
I'm sure.
It's a hotbed out here. But we're in the mecca of mid-century.
Right.
Between LA and Palm Springs, that's where it thrives,
where it all happened.
If you get out of California, it's way easier.
Yeah, I can see that. Is there, from what I've seen online, and maybe I just happened to find a couple accounts, it seems like there's a fair amount of mid-century houses in Idaho.
Yeah, that
just surprised me.
Like, that's so funny you say that, because there's these little communities that and people are just now reviving them and appreciating them for what they are, and honoring the mid-century design. But there are a community, where else was it? Indiana.
Oh, interesting.
Hotbed. Amazing.
And have you found that the furniture kind of follows?
Yes.
If you can find a housing hotbed?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Indiana has a ton of mid-century. But even, Riverside, tons of mid-century influence. The buildings, there's it's important to save what we have left because so much of it was kind of wrecked.
Yeah.
But there's no rhyme or reason where vintage pops up. I can go to Orange Crest with brand new homes and find a vintage piece, and I'm like, where the hell did you get this? Because it just doesn't make sense in this house, in this neighborhood, in this,
You're like, whose garage has this been sitting
right,
in?
it's that, and they maybe inherited it or something. But there's no rhyme or reason. I've picked out of hoarder houses. I've picked out of brand new houses. It's so strange where vintage pops up. I mean, it makes no sense. So,
yeah, I was surprised. We were looking for something last year when we first moved, and I was surprised how much of it was on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
In Riverside.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that day we were in there, you had two extremes of two different customers, but do you kind of have a typical customer, client, people that come in or work with you?
No, I don't have a typical, fortunately, I don't have a typical. It's always changing. I get different generations of people. There's people that grew up with this stuff and they love it because it reminds them of their childhood and they're happy about that. And it reminds them of their parents' home or things like that. And then there's these young kids that, want something different and with more value, and they understand that, big box stores are just they're pumping out the same cheap stuff, and they want something that's going to maybe hold value. So there's no real consistency with who shops with me. It's who cares to source vintage, and it's just all over the place. There's no one type of buyer, and that's great, Yeah,
because that'd be boring.
It would be boring, and always having, and the most unassuming people too will spend so much money, and I've worked in retail for years. You cannot pick out of a crowd who has the means, and
especially here.
Oh my gosh, I worked for MAC Cosmetics for years, and people just always acted like you could read them. If they had no makeup on, they didn't know what they were talking about. Well, you might want to think twice because they'll spend a lot of money. There's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah,
and that's actually really a good thing. I think that the customer is always changing, and you try to do your best to treat everybody the same. And if they don't spend, if I don't have the item they're looking for now, it could change tomorrow because, there's I get stuff in on a daily basis, but, exactly what they're looking for, it could happen tomorrow, So
So do you have regulars that are always stopping in?
Yeah. So people that are looking for a desk for right now, particularly. I need desks. I cannot keep them in.
I bet.
And yeah, because of the kids, somebody opened my eyes to that the other day and didn't even.
People working from home.
Yeah,
who
that didn't even
historically have not.
I didn't even realize that's why. Of course, that's why. You know, and a lot of people are going to be able to stay home working, so they do need a work area. Yeah. The desks, I constantly need those. But they're scarce right now for me.
I bet.
They're hard to come by. Fireplaces, I can't keep them in.
Like the
cone kind of style.
Oh my gosh, those are the coolest.
I love them.
So cool.
I love them. I'm picking one up on Sunday. But, I mean, as soon as I get one, it's just they fly.
Did you end up keeping, there was like a yellow one.
Yeah, that
Did
one's
you
in
keep
my
the yellow
backyard.
one? Oh, so cool.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that one's in my backyard.
What color is your Riverside sign?
Yellow, so it matches.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're obsessed with that Riverside sign.
Your Riverside sign is like the coolest.
Isn't that neat? So that's a guy, he makes any lettering, any words, any cool design you need, and he has different fonts, and
is he in Riverside?
He's not in Riverside. He's in Inland Empire, though. He's in I apologize. I'll send you the information.
Sure.
But on Instagram, he's called Vintage Sign Design. Very simple, and he can make anything. And I want to say he's in Upland, but totally custom. He will make whatever you want. And in fact, just the other day, I reached out to him to make some cool kind of arabesque diamonds for another fence I have that I thought would be just a neat view.
Yeah.
You know, have them on the fence and just looks neat, real cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you kind of have a next, like with the business, a goal or where you'd want to take it, or you kind of at where you want to be, or is there,
like we're just surviving?
Is there like a bigger vision that you see, like if I could get to this point?
That right there is my current conundrum. Everything, without sounding arrogant, I am so thankful. The response with everything has been so great, and it's happened so much faster. This was like my 10-year plan. It happened in 2 to 3 years.
That's amazing.
I've reached my goals. I HGTV, I did Atomic Ranch, I have the shop with multi-vendors. I've done what I've wanted, and now that is my current conundrum. Where do I take this? Where do I go now? It's working, and people are liking it, and it's connecting. So how do I keep this momentum?
Yeah.
The shop wasn't all I wanted to do. That was just the short-term goal. But that is now my current thing. I got to figure out where I want to go with this, and is that a more high-end, vibe? But that kind of is in the face of what I do now, which is, cater to everybody. So I don't know if that's where I want to go. I don't know. So that's this year's challenge, is where do I go with this? So my location, I only have 2 years there. My landlord said after 2 years, this place is getting completely renovated, and there's some business that's taking it over. I don't know with the current climate that's still happening. So I said, let me just go for broke and get this business, get the street exposure, get it going. So after my lease is up, I don't know if I'm going to find another location, looking to buy in commercial property because I'm paying rent already,
Yeah.
I don't know. I have so many ideas. I lack the tech knowledge to implement the ideas. So I need to figure out that aspect of it, because I'm very hands-on. I can refinish, but put me in front of a computer and I'm 100% lost, and I'm like, I get sweaty and I don't know what I'm doing, So I don't know where this is going after this. All I know is I love what I do. I want to keep doing it, but I need a new goal. I'm so goal-oriented, and I almost went through some sort of weird depression, like, what do I do now? Which sounds like such a baby.
I achieved it
I
all.
did it all fast, which sounds so ridiculous. And my husband was like, psh, psh, like get a grip, what do you mean? But truly, I don't know what to do now. I've done a lot, and all that I wanted to with this chapter, all that I wanted to, it just happened way faster. So now I got to figure out, where do I take it? You know? What's the next step?
Do you feel like you'll stay in downtown Riverside?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think we're moving. I got the house in the neighborhood I wanted, and my kids go to school right around the corner. We're anchored in Riverside. My mom lives 2 streets over from my shop. I have Riverside pride, you know.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's been the most exciting thing in coming back, because, I mean, I think people felt that maybe we were just stupid teenagers and we didn't know, but people have so much Riverside pride.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I love
Yeah.
driving by people's houses and seeing the bell
Yeah, the bell.
on people's houses, and tons of people have the bell tattoos, and
You know,
I love it.
You know Jesse Streeter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on a big old mission to instill more Riverside pride with revamping our Riverside
the
flag.
flag, yeah.
And it sounds so. When he approached me with this, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, it sounds so silly. But you listen to the passion that he has about it, and if we can really create a flag that represents Riverside, and there's a sense of community that comes from that, like. My kids, I told them yesterday, you're going to design a flag for Jesse. He's having a kid competition.
Yeah, I
It's
texted
really
that,
cute.
yeah.
You're going to do it because, you know what, we got to support him, and this is something he cares about. And so I'm gonna make them do it, and I think it's a great idea. And, I mean, I could even sell them in the shop, like a flag, you know, to kind of get that community going.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, people do. If I could have anything, one thing immediately, I would love to be back at the Brockton Arcade, just
Yeah.
in a bigger location.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Brockton Arcade.
Yeah.
I love Kramer's
maybe
coffee.
you can clean out the whole stamp and coin when he decides that he's
I
done.
dream about that. I dream about that. I mean it. I love that location. I love
It's
it.
a
so
cool
great
little
there.
spot.
Kramer's is such a
Oh,
cool
that's
spot. Yeah.
that I loved being there, and then the cute little cookie shop. I would take my kids there, and the Kramer's coffee is the best coffee, and I love that area.
It's a cool
Yeah, I
little
do too.
pocket of
I love
Riverside,
it.
for sure.
That was why that day when I found your store, I just had come back. And
Yeah.
Like there used to be like a like sports store. I can't remember what it was called. Years ago, like late 80s, 90s. And there was a hobby shop down there. And I remember I got like a remote control car when I was in 6th grade. And then it was always such a big deal to go down there and go to that shop. So much nostalgia and memory there.
So
Such a cool place.
There was I want to say there was like Gillette Records there. So if you're like real old school Riverside, like my grandparents age,
Yeah.
they remember like, you know, the record store that was there, and the arcade was like the hot spot. You would go there, and there was an art gallery, and there was like a lot of really happening places, and there's so much potential there.
So much.
It's everybody could. There's so many owners. If everybody can get the cohesive vibe to just honor mid-century, because it's a mid-century googie building, and just go with that vibe.
Yeah.
And create something there. Oh my gosh, there's so much opportunity.
Yeah. It has, that little square has like so much potential.
Do you guys remember Off the Mall off of Hull? It was called Off the Mall, and there was there was a couple of really cool shops called like Deluxe, the Electric Chair, I think. It was just all these like off the wall kind of shops. If you can create small business, like just nothing but small business in there, and then do some sort of market nights in there, it would be the coolest place in Southern California.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well,
Gosh.
and that's perfect because you've got the little parking area in the middle, and then you've got that big parking space behind it too.
Trust me, I've dreamed about this. If I could just buy the whole thing, I just need millions, you know? I would love that, yeah. I wish I could be over there again, because I love it. My pet store is there. It's where I get my dog food. I'm there all the time.
Yeah. It's a great little area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what vendors are you working with now in your shop?
In my shop. So my vendor, Brittany, she has her plant business called Mod House Plants. And it's funny, I've known Brittany for years, and I found her on the selling app called OfferUp. We have a different vibe, but I would always see this chick, and I'm like, who is this girl? She's got some bitchin', style. Like, her style is so cool. And it's different than mine. So I wrote her on OfferUp, and I said, dude, I'm not here to buy anything. I just want to say, your vibe is so cool. And from there, it's like the weirdest thing, but we developed a friendship on OfferUp, and then we found each other on Instagram, and then we met each other in real life, and we just had, like, I just love her eye. It's different than mine. She's creative, and she makes art, and I just love her vibe. And then when I was looking for a different location, I thought, I was considering one down the road that had two like buildings. And I thought, well, this would be cool for Brittany. She can make it her art studio. And then she hit me with, I want to do plants. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing in the
It's
mid-century
such
shop.
a perfect pair.
A marriage of
With
like
what you
made
do.
in heaven. It was like,
So great.
you know, because there's a major plant movement happening too. Houseplants are hotter than ever.
Huge.
Big time.
And people are understanding that there's value in keeping something alive, and it's you get attached to your plants, you know. And so in mid-century, a huge market is pottery and planters. It's huge, and so it's just a perfect marriage.
It's like giving a purpose to the planters.
Exactly right. And so it stages beautifully. Plants make everything just look warmer and more natural.
Yeah.
And so when she was into it, I couldn't have been happier. I was so thankful. And then I also have my friend Dennis, who has since the beginning been like the most helpful, nicest dude in the mid-century world ever. And he's got knowledge. Like, he's not a mod snub, but man, does he have knowledge. Like, he knows. He's incredibly well versed in designers and different techniques and things like that. And I'm so thankful to have him. So when I got a location, I approached him and I said, hey, you know, because he'd always joke, when are you going to get a shop? I can rent a little booth, you know. And so when it happened, I was like, hey, here's your moment. Are you
Now's
into
the
it?
time.
You know. And his Instagram is called Goodwill Hunted, and I loved that because it's not pretentious.
Right.
He's thrifting, and he finds amazing treasure. I mean, some of the stuff is like, why would anybody donate that? You know.
Yeah.
So and he has a wild mix of things. And appreciates art. It's just really cool to have him. The greatest guy. And he's great with customers. And so I have two of like the best vendors ever. And I'm really
And they both
happy.
like perfectly pair with what you do. Just so
I'm
great.
so lucky. I'm so thankful for them because exactly right. They pair well, and we all work cohesively. And I'm so thankful for them. They're great people.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Well, we're definitely customers and fans, so.
Oh, thanks,
But
guys.
thanks so much for coming on and coming out and telling your story.
Yeah.
Most of the people, our goal is to have people on that we selfishly want to know more about.
Sure.
So
Sure.
it's just for us, basically.
Yeah.
But thanks again so much for coming in.
Absolutely. This was fun. This was fun. Thank you.
I'll add a heart. Cool?
Yep, thank you.